Hello, chaps.
Hey, man.
You've got no Islam before you say no Islam.
Are you filming me?
Yes. Now,
I don't give you permission.
have you heard of Sisto Malaspina?
I don't give you permission to film me.
Have you heard of Sisto Malaspina?
Don't know who he is.
You know who he is?
I said I don't know who he is.
Okay, he was murdered, stabbed to death about 50 metres up the street there in 2018 by an Islamic-inspired terrorist.
Okay.
The police came and they shot the guy to death.
Okay.
But I'm intrigued that you've never heard of Sisto Malaspina, who was killed right up there by an Islamic-inspired terrorist.
I don't give you permission to film
I
me, by the way,
don't
yeah?
care where it's a public place. I can record whoever I want, but I'm just asking you about knowing Islam before you criticise Islam. Well, I know Islam. I was in upstate New York on September 11th, 2001, when Islamic terrorists destroyed the World Trade Center. So, excuse me, can you stay out of my personal space? Can you stay? Thank you for your trouble. You can record me all you want. You can post it on the internet. I oppose the idea of the attacks against Israel by the Hamas terrorists. So you can post that all you want. Thanks for your time. Sisto Malaspina was murdered in Melbourne by an Islamic-inspired terrorist. Put that on the internet. Thank you. Thing that I'm seeing this today. Yesterday on the BBC, there was a story of a mother who killed her daughter in England because she refused to go back to Pakistan for an arranged marriage. Her name was Saman Abbas. She was 18 years of age.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that story?
I wasn't, but yeah. So
Okay, you can go on the internet, put in
that's
Saman
so,
Abbas.
But what's your question about that? Do you want to know that, do I support it or?
I assume you don't support it.
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
my understanding is that the treatment of women in Islamic countries is not to the standard that...
I think this is not where it is. This is, so where she actually refused it in
the mother killed her daughter in England and then
escaped
escaped to Pakistan to avoid the consequences. But apparently now she's been arrested.
But she was in England when she did it. So
oh, that's okay.
So a crime happened in England.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
So it's okay for an Islamic woman to murder her daughter in England.
No, I'm saying England is partially responsible for that. So
I agree. I agree that England.
Yeah. There is lots of honor killing in England. Do you know that?
Yeah.
There are lots of rapes in US. Does that mean did you Google the rapes in US in every second and every minute?
I am
there are more than
aware that 30 plus women have been murdered in Australia in this year by their current or former partners.
That's really bad.
And that has nothing to do with religion.
That's what I'm saying.
It has to do with scumbag men who deserve to be in jail. The first time they raise their hand against a woman, they deserve to go to jail for a considerable period of time.
100%.
And if they come out and they do it again, they deserve, in my opinion, they deserve the death penalty. Islamic countries...
Definitely they should be in the jail.
Islamic countries, I understand, are in favour of stoning women to death for the crime of adultery. Are you aware of that process?
Which country?
Pakistan in particular, Afghanistan?
I'm from, I born in Pakistan.
Okay.
I don't think it's in the law of Pakistan at the moment.
I'm sure it's not in the law, but it's in the way that people, it's the way that people interpret Islam.
Did you ever go to Pakistan?
I have not been to Pakistan,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. Just visit there. It's. I mean, are you Australian?
I am Australian.
Yeah. So it's good that you're Australian. So you don't need visa to go there. So just you will get on arrival visa, and there is lots of Australians recently YouTube vloggers. They visit Pakistan as well. I'm not saying it's a perfect country. Lots of corruptions happen. It went through lots of colonial period where it actually. Like the police, if you wanna,
It's the British fault.
I'm not saying it's, but Britishers, like the corruption in the country is British is partially responsible for that. They invested, like my grandfather was in military,
Yes.
in British Indian Army, participated in World War II.
Yes.
So
And congratulations
and-
to your family for that.
So yeah, definitely, and I'm happy about that. But and we were well respected in the community, well treated as well. Like my grandfather's salary was really good.
Yes.
But on the other hand, my grandfather, he was a officer. He became officer in 1929.
Okay.
But he actually joined military in 1927 as a recruit. I mean, very initial, not an officer.
Okay.
So his salary at that time was 20 Indian rupees in 1927 as a first level of military person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in police in 1947, a sub-inspector of police, that's 3 or 4 ranks higher than the initial level of police
Right,
officer, his salary was just 7 rupees.
Okay.
So they intentionally kept the salaries
low
for police so that the bribery culture and that sort of things got introduced.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that everything they did was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But some of the things, I think that's the reason. That's why it's mainly corruption, injustice, that sort of things are there. But it's a third world country. I mean, it's not because of the religion. Religion says that don't take bribe. But
That's true. That is true.
But if you go there, bribery is so common.
Indeed.
But I went out of the country in 2005. Like I got a job in a telecom company in Middle East. So until then, like I stayed there, I was on 23, 24-year-old and never seen a woman stoned to death in Pakistan.
Okay.
Never ever.
Okay. I've seen it on the news, but
definitely there are some cultures are there. Like we were Hindus before we became Muslims.
okay.
In Hinduism, culturally, I'm saying that if, for example, your husband has died, you can't remarry.
Okay. In
And
Hinduism.
in mainly in the culture of that, because we came from that culture, and also it's not there anywhere in India now, but there used to be a ceremony called sati. You can Google that one. It's
Ceremony.
called sati, a ceremony of when husband used to pass, they burn the woman with the husband. So it used to be in the practice as well. I mean,
Okay.
it's not very long ago. It's called
Okay.
sati. You can check it out. So we came from that culture. So every culture has their own, things that comes, and lots
agree.
of honor killing, like in Pashtun culture as well. Lots of honor killing is
Yes,
there as well.
yes.
So it's not that
That's
Islam
Afghan
is
culture, yeah,
exactly. So it's not, and because Pakistan is also a sort of Pakistan. Mainly, there are 4 big cultures in Pakistan. One is Punjabi culture
Yeah,
that
okay,
I'm from.
okay.
Like we were Punjabis. So
which is kind of an Indian.
like Sikhs.
Yeah.
Sikhs
Right. Yeah.
share the same tribe as me.
Yeah,
Only
yeah.
difference is that we are Muslims. They are Sikhs, but culture is similar.
Yeah.
So there is another one that's Afghan culture. That's Pashtun. One province is that. There is another one that's Sindh, and there is another one that's Balochistan. So there are 4 big cultures
Right.
are living there. So every culture has their own identities, their own ceremonies, their own, So few things like in Pashtuns, lots of them are secular, like in a support of Red Stalin's, that sort
Okay.
of mentality they have, but still. If you check the statistics, even some of those does honor killing as well. So that's what I'm saying, that I can't exactly,
Look.
but definitely this is a most brutal act, I would say, the one that you showed me. it was a most brutal. Like, how can mother
do
is
they?
the most loving person. I mean, that's
Have you ever heard the name Sisto Malaspina? Does the name ring a bell with you at all?
excuse my ignorance.
This was a man who ran a cafe restaurant in Bourke Street, a couple of blocks up from this street, Swanston Street, and he saw what he thought was a road accident in Bourke Street in 2018.
Yeah.
A ute had run onto the footpath and crashed.
Yeah, the one that's accident, or one guy intentionally murdered a few people as
He
well.
murdered Sisto Malaspina. He stabbed him to death with a machete. The police came and shot him to death eventually.
Yeah.
But the man who killed him was inspired by ISIS. He was the coroner said that he was an Islamic terrorist. There's been demonstrations in this area for 6 months now supporting the Palestinian people after the Hamas terrorists butchered 2,000 mainly young people, men, women and children. And they feel entitled to block the streets and prevent people going about their lawful business because of something that's going on overseas. This guy was murdered in Bourke Street by an Islamic terrorist. So when I see people on the street saying we should embrace Islam in Australia, personally I disagree. I don't see Islam as being a positive influence for Australia now or in the future. But mate, I appreciate you having a chat with me. I wish you well.
Do you want to see my grandfather's picture?
I would. Okay.
Yeah. It's because I recently visited Pakistan and I took some old photos, that was there in our house. So
How long have you been in Australia?
12 years.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've been there in many different countries before. I lived in Bahrain, then in UK for a few years as well. I worked for T-Mobile over there.
15 years in UK?
3 years.
Okay.
Around 3. Yeah.
Right.
2.5.
Yeah.
So then I came here, but I like this place. Very multicultural and very accepting for different cultures. So then I decided, okay, this is the place. This is. Let's call this home. So
now I'm not seeing any ladies
this is
participating in this today. Are ladies allowed to?
Yeah, definitely. But we had a lady and she got attacked, and then after that we said no.
Okay.
So
by a passerby?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there are lots of
there are people camping on the footpath, which is
because some people take drugs and
indeed.
So mainly.
I'm sorry to hear that that was the experience.
So see, this is my grandfather.
Okay.
And this is when he joined, but then later on he was moved. Became an officer
in the
Indian
Pakistani
Army.
military.
British Indian
in the British.
Army.
Okay.
British Indian Army.
Yeah.
There was no Pakistan at that time.
Oh right. Okay.
So, and there was I show you another one when he became officer. This one. So this guy is their commanding officer, and he's a officer. He became officer.
I am delighted to hear that your family has a history of that nature, but it remains the fact that we're going to have to agree to disagree on whether Islam is a positive influence for Australia.
There is a proverb in, I will try to translate it, that little knowledge is dangerous.
Yes.
Then
yes.
Like it's mainly about a doctor. Like half doctor is very dangerous.
I agree.
So it's very similar to that. So those people, I'm not saying they're not inspired. They're inspired because they are inspired and influenced by the wrong people mainly. And because if you take out of context something, like for example, there is a verse in Quran that says, if you find infidel, kill him.
Yes, I've heard of that.
But that is, it's like you can't take just out of context. Like previous one is that if there is a war, there was an agreement between Muslims and the non-Muslims
Yes.
of that time.
Yes.
They were from the same family, but when they throw Muslim out of the town, so they have to go to Medina, another town, and there was a 10-year agreement between them and that the other party.
Now this
would
is
break the
centuries ago,
agreement.
is that correct?
Yeah, it is the context of that in the previous verses.
Yeah.
And it says that okay, now the agreement's broken, war is started. Now if you find someone, kill him. But then the next verse says, if he asks refuge or if he asks assistance, take him to refuge and and ensure his safety. That's the next one.
There's a large person.
So that's why if you take something out of context, then these sort of things happens. So they are ISIS was the worst. Their ideology
ISIS.
is not Islamic ideology.
Well, they call themselves Islamic State.
It wasn't even a state. I mean, it was. I mean, still, to be honest, my personal view, I don't have any evidence for that, but I think maybe some other agencies were behind it to make it. And
I know there
theory,
are
but,
concerns about that.
Yeah,
Now, just
yeah,
look,
yeah.
finally.
But definitely we are that Bourke stick attack or any other attack like that, we are 100% against it. And that's why the reason, as I told you, that I've been to 18 different countries, but I found Melbourne the most accepting place.
I agree.
Most multicultural. I played cricket, I play hockey,
Yeah.
but this shows you how the society is, or how the culture has been, how the morality or the acceptance of the other cultures are there in this.
I have to go.
Yeah,
my wife and I were visiting the United States in 2001.
Yeah.
And we were in upstate New York, driving through a beautiful countryside on the morning of September 11th, 2001,
Yeah.
when I stopped to get some fuel. And my wife went in to pay, and when she came out, she said, the guy in there said that 2 Iraqi planes just flew into the World Trade Center. And I said, the Iraqis don't have any planes. And you recall what happened. It was Islamic terrorists who hijacked 4
Saudi
aircraft.
Arabians.
In fact,
So the Islamic, but yeah,
the Saudis,
they were from Saudis,
the Saudis,
but they attack Afghanistan.
the Saudis appear to have had something to do with it, but the rationale for the whole thing was Islam. Allah Akbar.
But they were mainly from.
Okay.
Just saying that because they were from Saudi Arabia, they should put sanction on Saudi Arabia.
They should.
But money.
I know. But the next morning,
Richers are friend of richers.
the next morning, my wife and I drove down on the highway past the smouldering ruins. And that was one of the defining incidents of my life, observing that. And I don't see, in my opinion, I don't see a role for Islam in Western secular democracies like Australia. You're welcome to propose your view.
There is one verse of Quran, I guess you have to go, so I will conclude it with that it says that if you kill one human being, you kill whole of the humanity.
Okay.
If you save one human being, you save the whole of
All right,
humanity.
that's another way of
So
looking at
I
it.
will be honored if you take one of the Quran
Mate,
translation.
I'm
Just
not,
read
no.
it as a book.
No,
It's not.
I've
don't
already.
read it
I
as
do have a copy.
You
I do
do
have a
have.
copy.
You do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you
just-
very much, Chap.
If you have any questions, just come back. It was a very wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Nice to meet you.